Good evening, YouTubers, and welcome back in to another week of Astros Recap. It is Sunday night, August 18th, 9:59 p.m., so 1 minute away from 10 here, as the Astros have wrapped up another week into the regular season. 21 weeks, that is, or 21 Sundays, I should say. So, back at here, live from my regular spot, here in my bedroom doing this podcast. Anyway, just wanted to thank one more time Keegan and Pat last week for meeting me out in Town Center to do this podcast with me. Really appreciate their input and their takes. And as the year goes by, Keegan's back in Minnesota, so we won't see a lot of him. I mean, he's not supposed to make it back until Thanksgiving, so season will be long over at that point, but try to get Pat back out at some point and some other special guests maybe along the way. But for right now and tonight, just me. So, of course, I'm going to occupy all the airtime tonight. But I just want to thank them one final last time for coming out. Very bad week for the team, so yeah, things didn't go too well this week. They had a full 7-game week. They actually got rained out on Monday. So they had a doubleheader on Tuesday to make up the game, play the one that was scheduled. Third game there with the White Sox, and then a 4-game set with Oakland. They lose 2 of 3 to Chicago and 3 of 4 to Oakland. So Astros hadn't lost a series since the All-Star break. Even before that, they had gone like close to 9 to 10 series without a loss. I think the last one was against Pittsburgh, which was back in like mid or late late June, I believe it. I have my schedule here. I'll pull it up. But I believe it was against Pittsburgh, and let's see, when was this played here? Going back. Yes, Pittsburgh. The series there, June 25th through the 27th. They lost 2 of 3. But they hadn't lost one since then, as I'm just double checking. So they did go a good 9-10 series, it seemed like, before they finally lost 2 of 3 to Chicago, the White Sox of all teams. So not stiff competition. The rainout kind of screwed things up on Monday, made it tough because the way we got things lined up, when you have a postponement and then a doubleheader the next day, you're going to have to find somebody to fill a spot, or you're going to be working all your starters on short rest. So we had actually Rogelio Armenteros fill in for Saturday's game, which I'll get to in a few minutes here, but they actually won the first game of the doubleheader, 6-2, I believe was the final there. Greinke pitched that game. It's pretty good. He only gave up 2 runs, got the win. So 2-0, better start than the previous one he had against Colorado. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, with Greinke, I mean, Greinke and Sanchez, who are now both in the rotation, are 2 guys that I keep an extra close eye on just to see how they transition. I expect Greinke to be good. Sanchez is the more intriguing pitcher of the 2, just because he was really struggling in Toronto. So, new start for him, basically, is with Brent Strom. So, Sanchez, who I'll talk about, did not have a very good start on Thursday. But, he's your 5th starter. We don't need him to be, the same guy he was, 3 to 4 years ago when he was the ace of the Toronto staff, when they were making the playoffs and things like that. We just need him to be a quality 5th starter. That's all we need. But anyway, so Greinke did pitch well, 6-2. Springer hit a leadoff home run. Altuve hit a home run. There were a few runs scored on pass balls or wild pitches by Chicago, but that was a pretty easy 6-2 game. And then the nightcap, that same day, they run into Ivan Nova, who isn't a world beater, by any stretch of the imagination, but he did silence the Astros bats. In fact, he pitched a complete game. Only gave up a run, and we lost 4-1. Interesting part about that is Garrett Cole was scheduled to pitch second game there, and he got scratched right before the start. He had like hamstring discomfort. It's a common word when it comes to Astros injuries. But yeah, he got scratched, and they started Devo. The bullpen didn't do terrible. Devo, a guy I've actually been given a lot of credit to late, has now fallen right back off. There's no faith in him. He gave up 3 runs, I think, so. He pitched 2 innings. I know Biagini came in, pitched like 3. We were stretching the bullpen out in a doubleheader where you already used some of your bullpen. Bullpen's been a little overtaxed. So, AJ right now, as the roster's constructed, actually has like 8 relievers. I'll talk more about that because that just sort of transpired here when it came to the call-ups today. A lot of transactions, minor ones, which I'll get into as well in just a little bit. But, you split the doubleheader, so you come back Wednesday afternoon just trying to win the series, and they couldn't do it. They fell behind early. The offense kept coming back, kept putting up runs. The story of the week, losing the 7 games they lost. They only won, 3? 3 and 4 this week. Usually when there's a 7-game week, you have to go 5-2. So they definitely underachieved. And if it wasn't for the one today, they'd be coming back home with a 6-game losing streak. But kind of off topic. So just to go back, Wednesday, trying to win the series. And yeah, they fell behind. This was a start by Wade Miley, who was not very good. He didn't get charged with a lot of earned runs, but he did give up 7. I'll double check here as I click on the matchup. Here, let's see. We did lose it 13-9. Wade Miley's line score was, he only went 3 1/3, 9 hits, 7 runs, 3 of which were earned. He walked 1, he also struck out 1. One of the errors was his doing. I get the whole earned run stat, I think, is a very good indicator of what a pitcher is. It's a very simplistic stat, earned runs. It's something I look at more so than wins and strikeouts, those type of numbers. I look at ERA to get a good gauge on how a pitcher's doing. But if it's your error, like if it's the pitcher's error, then those deserve to be earned runs because it's your fault. If it's the other 8 positions on the field, then yes. But if it's your error, I don't know if you can make another stat or whatever it is. I know there's a ton of stats when it comes to pitching, but I just don't believe that you should be credited with an unearned run if it's your error, the pitcher. And that even happened the night before with Chris Davinsky, who committed an error, and then he had a few unearned runs because it just happened 2 days in a row. And I just don't. If it's your error, you deserve to be penalized for it. The pitcher, that is. But 7 runs, 3 were earned. The whole thing here, good pitchers can pitch around the errors. Wade Miley didn't do that. ERA didn't go up. It's 3.11, so it went up slightly. McHugh came in, he gave up a run. Joe Smith pitched a scoreless inning. Will Harris and Ryan Presley, the 2 guys you expect to, like I said, ride or die guys. You're going to put them out there and hope they get the job done. But if they don't, you have to live with it. But what I was actually getting into was the story of the week, which I started to talk about, and I got a little off topic, was every time the Astros would put up runs, and all these games on the road, of course, they can never stop the opposing team from scoring. So if they put up 1 or 2 runs in the top half of an inning, the opposing team would seem to put up 2 or 3 in the bottom half. So every time, we're playing from behind a lot, but every time we'd put up runs, we couldn't stop the opposing team from doing the same thing. We could never, have a clean inning after getting runs to put us back in the ballgame. After all the bad things and the errors and all the runs we gave up, Altuve did tie this game at 9 with a 2-run home run in the 7th inning. And we were tied there at 9. The top half of the 8th, he hit the 2-run home run to make it 9-9. And then Presley came in. This is after Will Harris gave up a home run. But Presley came in and allowed a grand slam to James McCann, which sort of ended it for us there. Sal Presley, ERA went all the way up to 2.66. He's had an ERA mostly in the ones for most of the year, upper ones. Will Harris, of all bullpen pitchers, has been the most consistent. He's given up runs here and there, but he never fully implodes. He's never gone over a tipping point when it comes to ERA. He's kept it, in the ones for the majority of the year. Presley's been over 2. He's over 2.5 after this game. I think Osuna went over 3 after he blew the game in Baltimore, which we talked about last week. But Harris, a guy that doesn't get a lot of kind of under the radar, underrated, has been very good for us. Most consistent guy in the bullpen, I think, easily by far. But he's not the 8th or 9th inning guys, so he's not getting the big attention, so to speak. But yeah, two guys in the bullpen that I'm really not happy about is probably Chris Davinsky and Colin McHugh. No faith there. Joe Smith is okay, but he's, like I said last week, he's just a mid-reliever. He's not going to find himself in any tight spots. Think about a few others. Biagini, who I actually, small sample size, I get that, but I liked what I have seen, but he's in AAA. I don't get it, but he's there. He'll be back up at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, because with the 8 guys AJ's got, I think Biagini has to stay down for 10. There's that weird rule there, but he'll be back very soon here if they make some roster moves, which I believe they will going into tomorrow. We'll just wait and see. I haven't heard any news, but I also really haven't checked Twitter, and that's where I get a lot of my news when it comes to Astros baseball. Anyway, so they lose that game. It's a tough one. Losses right now aren't they don't hurt you that much with the big lead in the division. You're trying to chase down the Yankees for the best record, of course, and even the Dodgers if you can get to the World Series. A home field advantage is important, and especially this year. More though than in past years. Astros last 2 years haven't really been that good at home, but this year they're dominant at home, and I think it matters more so. We did win the World Series on the road, but, playing the Yankees, which I think is going to be the matchup for the pennant there, be my guess at least. I think home field advantage is important, and it actually showed in 2017 where the home team won all of their games in that playoff. The chances are if New York had home field, we probably don't win that series. So I think it's important, very important this year, considering our record home and away. And we're actually 3.5 out now. 3.5 back of New York, and I think we're 2.5 back of LA. New York is first and foremost, trying to beat them out. But they're not losing a lot of games. They're slugging their ways to victories and had an easy schedule. I think they actually have a tough one coming up. I think they split with the Indians. I think they played the Indians for 4 and split with them. They're finally done playing the Orioles, who they absolutely obliterated all year. All the home runs, and they won 16 consecutive games. But I think their schedule beefs up. Ours gets pretty easy here. There's a few teams mixed in that are formidable. Oakland, now we play them again. A few other teams that are pretty good, but for the most part, our schedule is pretty favorable. And I think we have a lot more home games than we do road. Maybe not a lot more, but we do have more home games in the future here. So anyway, they lose 2 or 3. Just kind of sucked to lose that game because, well, you lost the series to the White Sox. But But you're on to Oakland, and the bad times continue to move on. Aaron Sanchez in Thursday's game was pretty bad. So one very good start, one pretty good start, and then one terrible start. So look at his line. Davinsky actually got the loss because the offense continued to score, but it was the same story. When we'd score, Oakland would put up runs of their own, so it didn't matter. But Aaron Sanchez's line, 5 1/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, all of which were earned. 2 walks, struck out 3. Not very good. Rondon came in. He actually pitched an inning and 2/3. As much as I hate to say it, Rondon, who's been on that list all year, he's been pretty good the last handful of times out of the bullpen. I don't think it'll last, but numbers speak for themselves. He's not. In fact, I might rather see Rondon in a game than Chris Davinsky and Colin McHugh, which is crazy that I actually just said that, but that's how I feel. So yeah, and then Davinsky, who got the loss, gave up the winning run in the 8th inning, I believe it was. Double checking, but yeah, he gave up a home run in the 8th inning, which proved to be the winning run. They beat us 7-6. A lot of back and forth. We put up 2 runs in the 4th and then single runs in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. But they put up 4 in the 4th, 2 in the 6th, and a single run in the 8th, which proved to be the winning run. So things didn't really go their way. You bounce back. You got Verlander on the mound. So you feel good on Friday, but not very good. The Verlander was good, but it was weird. So talked about, not being able to have shutdown innings, especially after we would score, being the story of the week. The other story of the week is, so we ended our 5-game losing streak today. A lot of the losses, it seemed like when we'd hit, we couldn't pitch. And when we pitched, we couldn't hit. So it was just unfortunate, but that was kind of the story. The pitching and the hitting not being able to basically give equal efforts and not being able to stop the opposing team from scoring when we'd respond and get back into the game. So that was the 2 big stories of the 5-game losing streak. So, but we lose that. We actually went to extra innings, went 13 innings on Friday. And Cy Snead, running out of pitchers, bullpen did fantastic. But Cy Snead gave up a winning run to a walk-off single to Robbie Grossman, which, yeah. Cy Snead got sent down right after the game to bring up Rogelio Armenteros to start Saturday's game. As I mentioned earlier, the whole pitching rotation got all messed up with the doubleheader and the postponement there on Monday. So Armenteros sort of gets the start for, everybody be pitching on short rest. One thing I did bring up, Garrett Cole getting scratched. The hamstring discomfort is not enough to land him on the DL, so he just took some time off. He's expected to start Thursday. So a quick injury update there for Cole. It's nothing too serious. We're just going to keep him out, and better to not, rush him back and risk further injury. I mean, talk about home field advantage being important in the postseason. Health is probably even more important. So we're not going to risk anything when it comes to our players. So, but Armenteros wasn't good. He did get through the first 2 innings just fine, but completely imploded. Gave up like 5 consecutive base runners. There's 5 runs in the inning. And then we were playing from behind. We really, on Saturday, didn't even get close to even coming back. We lost 8-4. But we only two innings there, 3 in the 5th, or 5 in the 5th, and then 3 more in the so 5 in the 3rd, and then 3 more in the 5th. And if I remember correctly, as I look things up, Chris Davinsky gave up those 3 earned runs. So yes, not happy with him at all. ERA at 4.99. Well, no, 4.82. McHugh. I'm looking at 4.99. So McHugh actually came in. He pitched pretty well. Didn't allow any runs. Struck out 2, walked a batter. He got through 2 innings. His ERA is actually under 5 for like the first time the entire year, it feels like. So, but McHugh and Devo, I just no faith there as it stands right now. Bullpen, it's a lot of back and forth because they've been very inconsistent this year. You know, like I said earlier, Will Harris has been probably the most consistent, best guy in the bullpen. As ERAs are concerned, that's what I look at as the biggest indicator. But yeah, so lose that 8-4, and then finally getting the win today. Greinke pitched well, 7 innings, 1 run, big 3-run home run by Bregman, and then another run was on. Let's see here. Scored a run on a Yuli Gurriel RBI double. 4 runs. Greinke was outstanding, and then Presley and Osuna shut the door. Their last 2 outings have been better, so that's good to see. But that sort of wraps up the week. You had 7 games, like I said, 3 and 4, so very subpar week, disappointing week. But you come back home for Detroit with 4, and I believe you play the Angels for 3. It's a favorable week. The biggest thing is that we're at home, where we score a lot and seem to win a lot of games. I think they're 43 and 15 at home this year, so very good. Sorry, needed a drink there. But anyway, so Garrett Cole's going to be back in the rotation on Thursday there. The way the rotation stands, if you're lining things up, basically it goes Verlander, Greinke, Cole, Miley, Sanchez. But with Cole looks like he'll be mixed in right after Verlander if things goes as planned. So if you're going to move it that way, it'd be Verlander, Cole, Greinke, Miley, Sanchez. But Wade Miley, who pitches tomorrow, has a chance to redeem himself after a bad start. Sanchez the same, who will get the start on Tuesday. And then you'll have Verlander and Cole most likely Wednesday and Thursday there. Just going in order, but that's the way it looks. As things stand right now, we're 3.5 back of the Yankees, 2.5 back of the Dodgers, just for best records. Division lead, Oakland did cut into that a little bit, but it's still 7.5, so, not worried there. Acquisitions, they brought Cy Snead right back up after sending him down. They moved Aledmys Diaz back to the IL, dealing with, he was like dizziness, was rushed to the hospital after Saturday's game. So put him on the DL, brought up Cy Snead, talking about bullpen being taxed, but you have no position players. You have Jake Marisnick and Martin Maldonado or Chirinos, who's catching, whoever's not catching. But there will be a move, I would assume, tomorrow. I think most likely Miles Straw. They'll probably send back down. Excuse me. Cy Snead would be my guess. But they need a position player. In fact, Altuve today really bothered me with one of the plays in the first inning. I mean, he had a swinging bunt ground ball down the third base line, which he ran as hard as he could to first, and he was safe. They threw the ball away, got to second. And then on a ground ball single by Bregman, he was just sort of trotting, jogging around third, not giving it a whole lot, and got thrown out because there was no effort, hustle. Something I can't understand. It really irked me and bothered me that, if you can't hustle and give effort, those things shouldn't be taught. That should just be a standard. And if I was A.J. Hinch in that situation, I probably would have benched him. I can't say a lot of bad things about Altuve, but that right there was unacceptable, especially when you're in a losing streak and every run counts, and getting Greinke an early lead didn't end up costing them, so it was okay, but that was something that really bothered me. And if I'm A.J. Hinch, I'd probably bench him for the rest of the game. Of course, you don't have any infielders, so issue there. The only excuse Altuve had was that he injured something, which we, of course, God forbid that happens. Even knock on wood for that. But that's inexcusable play right there by Altuve. But just thought I'd bring that up because it's, losing streak sucks. The win today kind of makes things better. Better flight, happier flight. But, yeah, it's, I'm not a person that says the sky's falling, season's over. I sometimes say that to people just to see what type of reaction I get, but I try to keep things in perspective. Glass half full. These things happen. It's the ebbs and flows of a 162-game season. Losing streaks happen. You just try to minimize them and get out of them and get back to your winning ways as quickly as possible. That's usually the goal. But this is the second time this year. So we had that 7-game losing streak against Cincinnati and New York, and then this one against the White Sox and the A's. So that wraps up the week. We'll see on this corresponding moves. I believe Miles Straw will be called back up. Diaz will be on the IL for a little bit here. But I'm trying to think, Garrett Cole's not going anywhere. He's fine. He'll pitch Thursday. And I think Cy Snead will be the odd man out. Also, Brad Peacock. Forgot to bring that up. He's back. He got activated off the IL today. Finally. He'd been out forever, it seemed like. But got his rehab in, and he's good to go. That helps our bullpen. So we'll see what, when he gets picked to come in, we'll see kind of what he's doing. But I prefer him over McHugh right now. It's funny, you start the season with both McHugh and Peacock in the rotation, and we're this far in. We've made acquisitions at the deadline, and they're in the bullpen where they belong. So that just adds to the bullpen. Pretty stacked bullpen. Biagini will be back up at some point as well. They just needed a fresh arm. That was the main reason for sending him down. But he'll be back up, and we'll get things all straightened up. Hopefully we have a good week, 7-game week. So, again, I'll say 5-2. But, I don't like to get too greedy here. But, the Angels don't scare me, and Detroit certainly doesn't scare me. So, dare I say 6-1, especially after this week. It'd be nice to pick up some games to sort of make up for a lot of the losses this week. But I'll sort of wrap things up there. Talk to you next week, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else, breaking news or anything I can give you, but talked about this sort of roster moves, acquisitions, and yeah, so not much I can really think of at this point. Please subscribe, listen to this podcast or previous ones. I post them every Sunday night, so look for me either late Sunday or early Monday morning. Also hit that like button, share this with your friends, do all that good stuff on YouTube. Try to get more guests, make things more interesting and fun as weeks go by. But yeah, I'll wrap things up there, and we'll talk to you next Sunday night, and we'll see you then.